The top 5 news articles from recent headlines. Prepare yourselves. I will not say the name. The president signs executive order to cut funding for schools with COVID-19 vaccine mandates. The president's efforts to replace federal employees spark legal challenges. The president's USAID cuts deepen political divide with U.S. jobs loss and global impacts. Scary time to be a scientist. How medical research cuts will hurt the maternity mortality crisis. The targeted chaos of the current administration's attacks against international human rights laws and justice. As activist and leader Valerie Carr wrote, As activist and leader Valerie Carr wrote, I find myself reaching for language to describe what we are witnessing. Fascism and authoritarianism come close, but the onslaught of actions of the new U.S. administration the last 3 weeks have inflicted such suffering, it exceeds language. We are witnessing the calculated destruction of norms and institutions in the arenas of immigration, climate, foreign aid, diversity, and democracy. I know I'm preaching to the choir. These executive orders, their speed, their scale, and their volume have created new disaster zones overnight. Cruelty is the point. Chaos is its means, and helplessness is its desired result. So receiving and taking all of this in feels like the ground beneath us has shifted, fractured, and is broken, leaving us unsteady, unsure of what to do, paralyzed by the onslaught and the chaos. The weight of fear and uncertainty presses down on the chest. Do you feel it in your chest sometimes? Making it hard to breathe or think clearly. This is trauma. This is what trauma does to the brain and the body. In moments like these, time seems to stretch endlessly. Anyone having a hard time sleeping? Yeah. And our minds race to worst-case scenarios. Everything feels overwhelming. Often we have moments of overwhelm, like we're caught up in a storm, unsure if we'll ever find solid ground ever again. Cruelty is the point. Chaos is its means, and helplessness is the desired result for our federal employees, for our federal contractors, for our climate justice warriors, for our undocumented kin, for our trans and non-binary kin, for our queer kin, families and children, for our Black and African kin, for our indigenous kin, our women, our girls, our Latin and Asian kin, for our kin living with addiction and mental health, for our unhoused kin, for our beloveds not known to us this day, but held in our hearts always. Will you breathe with me? Breathe. 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 Parker Palmer writes, there are times when the heart, like the canary in a coal mine, breathes in the world's toxicity and begins to die. I'll say that again. Parker Palmer wrote this in his book, Healing the Heart of Democracy. Folks who saw me yesterday knew I took this book home with me last night. Healing the Heart of Democracy, The Courage to Create a Politics Worthy of the Human Spirit by Parker Palmer. And in it he writes, there are times when the heart, like the canary in the coal mine, breathes in the world's toxicity, and begins to die. Parma reminds us that the heart, our hearts, much like that canary in the coal mine, can be overwhelmed by the heaviness of the world around us. When we take in too much suffering, fear, negativity, which is exactly the point, our inner being and light begins to fade. But just as that canary serves as a reminder to care for what is hidden, our heart struggles signal the need for us to seek renewal and nourishment and the company of those who remind us of our own resilience and power. So I find myself leaning heavily into spaces where brave, wise, and thoughtful leaders are sharing their resilience. I need it. I need it for myself. I need it for you. I need it for all of us. So I'll return to Valerie Carr when she reminds us that we are not powerful. Let me back that up. We are not powerless. I'll plow that under. We are not powerless. Millions of people oppose authoritarianism, correct? We are the majority. We are the majority, and we must act like the majority. Our greatest power lies in our choice to care for one another, to risk ourselves for each other. We must be brave in our love, braver than ever before. So what to do? What to do? First, remember, I'm going to keep on saying it. We are not alone. You are not alone. We are not alone. You are not alone. This feeling of fear, too many words, is not a sign of weakness, but of strength. Where your awareness of the challenges around us, their goal is to overwhelm us, to silence us. But we can and we must stay connected, to show up again and again, be grounded in love, and refuse to accept cruelty as normal. Cruelty is not normal. Next, let us focus. Many who work to protect vulnerable people have seen their efforts dismantled. We see you. We know you. We are all in crisis, but we must keep caring for each other. We each have a role to play. As you heard Brian say it so beautifully, we each have a role to play. What is within your capacity in this moment? What is yours, I ask you? Lastly, courage is contagious. Many of you all say that to me, that my joy, my passion, my courage is inspiring and courageous for you, even my heels. After disasters, communities come together to rebuild. In this time, we must do the same. Who needs your care right now? Who needs your joy? Who needs your forgiveness, compassion? Who needs your grace? Who needs just a smile and a card and a thank you and a hug and an amazing thank you, Amy, for singing today. Thank you, Josh and the choir. Thank you, thank you. Because joy is our lifeblood, right? We can't be in the struggle all the time. In times of struggle, joy and connection are acts of resistance. So I'll ask you, how are you nurturing joy? Unapologetically, how are you nurturing joy and love? Survival is resistance. Joy is resistance. Love is resistance. Pride, our pride, is resistance. Together we will take care of each other, hold fast, stay connected, and let love guide us always. The ever-wise, I'm going long. Okay, let me wrap it up. The ever-wise Valerie Carr reminds us that we can practice the world we want in the spaces between us. How did our ancestors survive times of cataclysm? They did. They gathered together in person around kitchen tables. They gathered together in coffee shops and community centers. They ate together. They told stories. They sang together. They cared for each other. They built a world of love and protection. So let us gather. around kitchen tables, share music and food, and stay in each other's light. Beloved, community is not the absence of conflict. It's where we struggle together with love as our guide. In the coming months, we will need to resist and protect people in harm's way, and we will need spaces to practice liberation. We will need to know in our bodies what that world can feel like. In these turbulent times, beloveds, we must lean into the strength of our collective love. The challenges may feel insurmountable sometimes, but we together are facing this storm, so let us keep showing up. You hold someone's hope in your hand. You hold a precious life full of challenge in your hand. And they hold yours. That is the power of our togetherness. That is the power of what happens when we are together, united in our purpose and our mission. That gives me hope in my wing, in my lungs. So let us together build something beautiful. Are you with me? Yes. Okay. Amen. Amen. Ashe. And may it be so.